Good morning. Before we get started, do you remember the last three memory verses? 1 John chapter 2, verse 1b. And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. Psalms 103, verse 12. He has removed our sins as far from us as the east is from the west. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 12. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. As you listen to today's story, A Baby in a Basket, think about these questions. Number 1. After Jacob's name changed to Israel, what were his children called and where in Egypt did they live? Number 2. How did the new Pharaoh treat them after they had become strong in Egypt? Number 3. What did Pharaoh command to be done with the Israelite baby boys? Number 4. What did Moses' mother do when she could no longer hide him? Number 5. What did the princess do when she found baby Moses? And number 6. Who did she hire to be his nurse? This week's memory verse is commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust him and he will help you. Psalms 37, verse 5. A baby in a basket. After Jacob's name was changed to Israel, his children were called Israelites. They lived in the land of Goshen more than 400 years, and their numbers grew until they became a strong nation. Joseph and the kind Pharaoh had been dead a long time. Another Pharaoh had come to the Egyptian throne. This new Pharaoh was afraid of the Israelites. He thought, soon there will be more Israelites than Egyptians. If they should turn against us, we will be in serious trouble. What if they joined our enemies? I must not let them leave Goshen. I will keep them for slaves. Pharaoh called his people together and told him his fear. We must do something, he said, to stop the Israelites from becoming stronger and more powerful than we are.
Finally, he and his officers decided to make the Israelites work even harder. Pharaoh wanted new cities, and he commanded the Israelites to build them. Then the officers put taskmasters over the workmen. The taskmasters were to make them work hard and fast. But the harder they worked, the stronger the Israelite became. Pharaoh was even more afraid. This will never do, he reasoned. I must make life more miserable for them. And he did. One morning, Pharaoh sent the Israelite this message. Every baby boy that is born among your people must be thrown into the Nile River.
Into such a world Moses was born. How much his mother loved him. For 3 months she hid him from the soldiers. Then the baby was too old to hide. So she gathered bulrushes that grew along the river. Then she wove into a basket. To keep the water out, she plastered it with pitch. Then she made a soft bed in the bottom. Next came the very hardest part. She put the baby in the basket and carried the basket to the river. There, among the tall reeds at the water's edge, she placed her precious basket and went back home. Sister Miriam played along the river bank and watched the basket.
Soon a company of richly dressed women appeared. One of them was an Egyptian princess, Pharaoh's daughter. They had come to bathe in the river. When the princess saw the strange-looking basket floating among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. What can be inside that basket? The women wondered as they gathered around to see it open. How surprised they were to see a little baby. The baby was crying, and the princess lifted him lovingly. This is one of the Israelite children, the princess said. She knew about the cruel command her father had given, but how could she let this sweet little baby be killed? I'll take him for my own, she decided.
When Miriam heard this, she ran to the princess and asked, Shall I get an Israelite woman to nurse this baby for you? Of course, the baby would need a nurse, and the princess was glad to hire an Israelite woman. Miriam ran home and quickly brought her mother. How happy and thankful they were to carry the baby back home. No longer were they afraid of the soldiers, for everyone knew this baby had been adopted by Pharaoh's daughter.
When the baby grew old enough to leave his mother, he was taken to live with the princess at Pharaoh's palace. The princess called him Moses, which means drawn out, because she had drawn him out of the water. Moses was given a royal education. As a prince, he would one day be a leader in the government, perhaps even the king of Egypt.
Now let's answer the questions from earlier. Number 1. After Jacob's name changed to Israel, what were his children called and where in Egypt did they live? They were called Israelites and they lived in Goshen. Number 2. How did the new Pharaoh treat them after they had become strong in Egypt? He made them into slaves. Number 3. What did Pharaoh command to be done with the Israelite baby boys? He commanded all baby boys to be thrown and drowned in the Nile River. Number 4. What did Moses' mother do when she could no longer hide him? She placed him in a basket on the Nile River. Number 5. What did the princess do when she found baby Moses? She took him to be her own son. And number 6. Who did she hire to be his nurse? She hired Moses' mother. Think about it. Jump. A family was awakened by their smoke detector in the middle of the night to discover that their house was on fire. The father ran into the upstairs bedroom of his children and carried his 18-month-old baby in his arms while dragging his 4-year-old son by the hand. They were halfway down the stairs when the little boy remembered that he had left his teddy bear in the bedroom. So he broke free from his father's hand and ran back to the bedroom to retrieve it. In the fear and confusion, the father didn't notice that his son wasn't with them until he got outside. By now, the little boy was trapped by flames and smoked in his second-story bedroom. Smoke swirled around him, and he coughed and cried out from the upstairs window. "Daddy, Daddy, help me."
His father yelled from below, "Jump out of the window, Andy. I'll catch you." In the darkness and smoke, the little boy yelled back, "But Daddy, I can't see you." Daddy shouted back, "That's okay, son. I can see you. Jump." Application. There is a true saying that goes, "I don't know what the future holds, but I do know who holds the future." Do you worry about the future? Are you afraid of what you can't see? Does it seem dark and smoky? None of us can see what lies ahead, but God tells us to trust Him and jump. Psalms 37:5, our memory verse says, "Commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust Him, and He will help you."
This concludes today's lesson.